Good afternoon, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to the third race of the day. Welcome from Free Enterprise and Randomania, who have both had some great races that I would kindly ask you not to spoil, as some people here may not have seen them, but from what I saw, they were both great ones. I am Baka Shinobi, and I am joined by Nth as we are commentating this race between Aeriyah and Vitasia. How are you doing this afternoon, Nth?
Doing very, very good. Very excited for this, even though it does mean that, we've only got two more streams of these Swiss flags left for the Lali-Ho League. And you know what? I'm going to miss these flags, but I'm definitely excited to give them a very good send off today.
I agree. We've got this has been interesting with the T Wildish and all of those just nice characters, nice shops, the ability to sell for actual money, because once we go to brackets, Cell Zero gets turned on, E Pro gets turned on, boxes get worse, and you are going to be early parts of this year, you're going to feel like Cataseeds with the amount of money you have.
Yeah, but with the quality of the players that we've seen throughout this tournament, too, I have full faith that it will barely look like it even phases any of them when we're actually watching the races live. So I'm just really looking forward to that because we've got great, always increasing quality of runners in the community, and the crop that we've had this time around feels like definitely the best we've had yet.
I am not going to disagree. We have just constantly having better and better runners, as this race between Aeriyah and Vitasia is going to see who gets to punch their ticket to brackets, though likely brackets play-ins, as we're going to have more than 16 players at the requisite points to get into brackets, so we're going to be paring down to the top number for our first round. But still, definitely a very exciting match you're going to have for us, as how these runners are going to be terribly interested in going and just going home after this. No, they want to go and play brackets.
Yep. I mean, it is just everything to play for at this point. You've put in the 5 weeks. You've had very close races. Both of them had, kind of rough schedules so far to get to this point. So it's easy to see, those 2 losses are not because they couldn't have won those races. Those 2 losses are just because they've got extremely strong competitors there.
I agree. This has been such a bloodbath. So many strong runners going and taking losses early and just not quite being able to go. And I mean, it's Swiss. You only have one person who goes 6-0, and the person who went 6-0 had a hard gauntlet there. So there is nothing that runners. I'm just completely amazed at how good all the races we've had.
Yeah, the last 2 out of the last 3 races I've been on commentary for have been decided by less than 10 seconds, just to give an idea of how extremely close everything has been as we do get underway with this Porum and Yang start, it looks like.
That's not what you want to see. Neither one of those characters can use a dancing dagger or really do any appreciable damage on their own. Porum can use a heroin robe and a power staff. I wonder if we're going to see some extra looting.
That Leviathan start as well could be interesting too. I mean, I gotta think that, this is one of the first times that I've seen in the entire Swiss flags where you're looking at Hobbs and you're saying, actually, I might kind of want Aeriyah early on here because I don't have anything to just carry me through this early game.
Yeah, that's Aeriyah, Palom. Sin would be the biggest pickup, but not always the best odds of finding him. Just, yeah, this team does not have damage. And we see Aeriyah going straight to Watery Pass, going to do some looting here, as we do have T Wildish flag, and this is locations will go and adjust the quality of loot. Locations that are out of the way or don't have a lot of reason to go there, such as this Watery Pass, where there's no characters or no key item to find here, has noticeably higher than average loot.
Yeah, a big question to me too with this Watery Pass loot is often what we've seen runners do is they'll just loot this very front part of Watery Pass and then leave if they don't have an exit caster. And I almost wonder if in the situation where you're starting with such a weak pair of starting characters, you might even consider going a bit deeper and just taking the walk back time.
Yeah, it's really hard because you want better stuff, but that walk back time you can just feel. We've had so many races recently decided by 25, 6 seconds even. So I can see our runners being a bit worried, and we see Aeriyah choosing, all right, I'm going to go loot extra and watery pass, but I'm going to park in the back and check some spots here.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a ton that's been massively interesting because it's all been stuff that you can't really use to make that Forum or Yang any better. About the only thing that I saw that was particularly good early on that'll help carry him through this is there was a Gaia drum in that first spot. There was a Bacchus wine in the back spot if you want to try just berserking that Yang to get a little bit more damage early on, or if you want to just save it for a fight later, that could come in very handy as well.
Yeah, that Bacchus wine is going to be harder to replace because on the standard shop settings we have, you can't buy Bacchus wines until you get underground or to a gated shop, so they're going to be hard to replace. Speaking of hard to replace, Hella is not that hard to replace either, but he's a very good character, just not for the needs of this party at this immediate moment.
Yeah, I mean, he's a caster who can technically do damage, but you need to be able to get up ordeals to really get him online, and getting up ordeals right now is, well, an ordeal.
I agree. And this is a time I'd be tempted to go and take an extra looting trip to Castle Evelyn, because Tella can at least use the Black Mage rods, which the Stardust rod, if you can pull it, which you can from Castle Evelyn, would let you go and use it as an item to do 500 to 600 damage per use, and that could be a huge boon at this early stage when that Gaia drum is the best damage you had.
Yeah, that backside of Hobbs had a couple of really interesting weapons on it too, if they happen to find the right characters for it. As we did see the full moon and the longsword for edge there, meaning that they will happen way to both back row glitch their edge. They happen to find one, as well as a couple of very good starting items, and also an ice claw in this early antlion cave chest. Not a bad pickup either.
Yeah, Ice Claw is very helpful. Yang really needs to go and be exploiting elemental weaknesses to catch up with a lot of other characters' damage, but being able to exploit that weakness is very helpful because you do usually get quadruple damage out of it.
Yeah, and having that Thunderclaw and Ice Claw, which are the two probably most useful non-stat stick claws in the game, and especially when you're running into a Kainatsu here at the bottom of Antlion Cave, is going to help him out quite a bit.
Yeah, there's Kainatsu goes and changes elemental weakness. If he's got the wave, gathers the water, then he's going to go and be weak to lightning. If he hasn't gathered water, he's going to be weak to ice, which is something I was not terribly aware of in the first few times I played this game, because I always got him with Tella casting left 3 and taking him out.
Yeah, that 400 damage swing early on with that power on Yang, pretty good. Going to keep getting this Yang a bit lower here, but this is not going to be a difficult fight.
No, it looks like Vitasia was trying to go and get the Porum to bonk Yang with the Power Staff and trigger a Berserk proc, but was unable to go and get the proc.
I had forgotten until just now that you could actually do that. So it's a very, very good application of game knowledge there to try and get that Berserk off, even if it didn't work out in this case.
Yeah, it is somewhat difficult to go and do. There are certain things... There are some, thanks to the efforts of Accident, we understand the game a bit better thanks to him decompiling parts of the code. And one of the things that we've learned is that the ATB bar goes and affects your resistance to statuses, where if you have a completely filled ATB bar, you're probably not going to go and be hit by negative statuses by chance. Yeah, casting Berserk will still Berserk, but trying to go and get a proc is less likely to happen.
Let's get a tower key for the efforts there. And just going back to this for a moment, it's always entertained me a little bit thinking about it that the one that casts Berserk on your party member when you hit them, like the only staff that you want to hit your own party with necessarily, is also the one that gives you plus 10 strength, so you hit them really hard comparatively.
And it's very accurate, 90% accuracy, which is much better than any other staff. Yeah, don't worry, this will definitely hit and may hurt, but you'll feel really annoyed about it and take it out on someone. But yeah, Aeriyah doing a bit extra looting and getting prepared, and is now heading into Antlion while Vitasia is ahead that check and going to be going into Fabul now.
Yeah, not the best items in this Fabul shop was just Soma drops, which you don't necessarily want to invest money on in these flags, and you definitely will never be investing money on them in bracket flags once we get there. And then carrots, which, you can pick one up for the joy of all of us watching, but in a race, are you really going to?
Unfortunately, yeah, the carrots are only useful for going and summoning the big chocobo in a chocobo forest, and you don't usually want to solve your inventory problems that way. You appear to have all of the free early bosses coming out, as this is Dark Imps, who are not immune. They do not have the boss bit and can be defeated with a variety of status effect spells. Unfortunately, we don't have any of them.
We don't have any of them, but, they're not going to hit very hard here. He's going to have a very easy time just knocking him down standardly. 129 at most on Yang is definitely something that we'll just be able to heal past very easily.
Yeah, it's definitely manageable. It's just going to feel a little slow. Whoever's able to go and find a slightly faster way of getting through these fights is going to go and be taking the early lead, as we don't have a lot of tools for doing better damage, but whatever damage we can do, we're going to feel good about.
There are a few tools I did see Aeriyah pick up in Antlion Cave that I'm not sure Vitasia did. I saw him pick up a Gungnir Spear in that save point room that Vitasia I don't think got. So we're finding some attack things, you just can't use any of them yet.
Yeah, not going to be helpful now, but what is helpful now is Vitasia goes and gets a lucky stone cast off of Recall. That is, that's also a very bit of good luck. A Twin Harp from that Fabul check is an objective, potentially. Well, it is an objective, we just might not be able to do it right now.
I think a good pickup I just saw on Vitasia's side as well did pick up Mute Arrows and a Great Bow, which is more of a good bow in this particular case. But those Mute Arrows, if he finds a boss that's a mage, going to be weak to those, could be a pretty impactful pickup in this period of time where both of our players are pretty starved for damage.
Yeah, that Great Bow suffers from, well, not having so great accuracy. Most of the early bows are rather awful in pretty much anyone's hands except Rosa, who has the aim command, which guarantees you go to the maximum accuracy.
I wonder if it was intentional and they were just thinking, oh, you're only ever going to use this on Rosa anyways, and you'll use aim, so this will teach you to use aim.
Maybe they want to go and have you believe that aim command is incredibly helpful and powerful in doing more damage, when really it's just the bows are awful. But we do see Aeriyah is now getting into that Dark Imps fight, and is also trying to go and do the bonk to Berserk Yang, but Yang is taking a good number of hits early on, and didn't go and get Berserk. Meanwhile, Tella not getting so nice results on Aeriyah's side, going in just hitting his can't remember anything animation.
Meanwhile, on Vitasia's side is going to take that Baron infight, that Dr. Luggage, blocking off a Palom. So this is another good potential chance to get some early damage, because even just using that twin command with that Palom and Forum could be something that gets you through most of ordeals.
Yeah, that twin command, just Palom after he does a fight, getting tier 2 elemental spells is a big boost to damage. And Vitasia is in the second fight with Dr. Lugai. Well, Aeriyah, Vitasia got a very lucky hit, because it's usually above, I want to say, 60% odds of getting a tier 1 spell from Recall, when otherwise going in either missing or sometimes getting weak, fatal, or stone.
Well, a bit less lucky on Vitasia's side that he's going to find this evil wall at the second spot here at Baron.
Yeah, and there goes down Yang. This spot hits hard, and when it evil wall is a bit tricky in the sense that it doesn't play quite as fair as other things. Yeah, this is looking real bad for Vitasia, and he is taking a reset. That going straight back in, not willing to go, and or maybe going in, doing some more looting, and then heading out. That does make some sense.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a downer to not be able to get that Palom and get someone who you can get to some damage early on with this team, which is still just going to be a bit weak for right now.
Yeah,
but
and
you got to give it up at this point.
Yeah. There we see Aeriyah now getting through that football fight. A much longer fight, unfortunately, than Vitasia had. But Vitasia had that very nice stone proc, which cut down the amount of damage he needed to do significantly.
Yeah, and he did go down to that Chocobo Forest and continued the current problem we're having of daggers everywhere and not a person to dance. So, would be a good pickup with any other party, probably.
Yeah, that would definitely go and be it. It's a great source of early damage. It's only a few spots overworld that it doesn't do good damage to. I wonder if we're going to see anyone go to Castle Evelyn, because you can pull some more treasures out of there, and this team just... A heroin rope would go and put Porum into such good position.
I have to think that there's some concern that they won't be able to get through the trap chest fights, or they don't want to reset through and determine which ones are the trap chests at this point in time. That would be my main thought for why they wouldn't do it. That, or just hoping for a lucky break here up on Mount Ordeals instead of going back and trying to get there, try and get progress where they can. But that Evelyn play is looking more and more like it might be a better option.
Yeah, as we see Baigen here, this is one of, if not the weakest physical attack spot in the game, so Baigen is going to be pretty tame here. But it is going to go and take a minute to chew through all of his HP.
It's been a very interesting blend on this overworld of bosses that are very easy to deal with, bosses that are difficult to deal with and easy spots for them, and then the wall.
The wall's just... I'm here to crush your hopes and dreams. Would you like to get damaged? No.
I am sorry, but there is no blink you can cast fast enough to deal with me right now.
I'm a wall, I don't blink and miss.
Basically, never get into a staring contest with a wall is what we're saying here.
Yes, this is going to go paint a really bad picture for you.
This Baigen fight is taking a while, though, no matter what.
I think you might need to kill the front arm to go and get the main body to count as front row. No, it looks like Yang is still doing the same amount of damage no matter what. It's just, yeah, we don't have any damage. Yang is carrying the damage at 400 a hit with power hit, and that's not really damage. That's what you consider, okay, this is starter damage from Arcane or Cecil with a nice brand.
It's something that will technically work over time. It's just not going to work short term, and Palom or Porum is not going to hit with that bow, it seems like, either, so that's not going to help things at this point.
Yep, and neither of her runner has gotten a single proc on their power staff. It is... I appreciate them going for it, but they are just not getting the luck they want.
Cat in chat pointing out those are also the incorrect hands for equipping the bow for Porum as well, so that's not going to help matters here.
Yeah, that reduces her attack to 80%, as the correct way to equip the bow in Final Fantasy IV, which I didn't know for many years, was you put the arrows in the main hand and the bow in the offhand. If you've done archery, this makes sense. I didn't do archery as a child.
Yeah, I remember the first time I actually got to try out like an archery thing, I was like, oh, this does make sense then, doesn't it?
Yep. But we do see Vitasia is through the fight, mostly just needs to finish off his arm, or it's going to explode, and hitting Tella, not bad, only 40 damage, going to get through it. I expect we're going to see a save here, as I don't think Vitasia wants to risk losing all of this to a back attack wyvern that gets a mega nuke off.
Yeah, there's many things that can be very mean at this back attack spot. So at this point in time where you are pretty sure that you're having a rough time, even if it's one of the easier bosses, Antlion, I feel, is not a great prize here either.
No, Antlion kind of hurts in this spot. Though we do at least have Young with power, so we'll avoid the counters. He's also kind of speedy, and Tella is not doing so great. Oh, hey, we also have Berserk on Forum now. That is a big improvement for us.
Isn't that just how it goes, though? You get Berserk on Forum, and then you hit the fight where you do not want to Berserk your Yang, because then you'll just get countered to death.
Well, maybe you can go and get through this faster than the counters can get through you. Because we do see the Berserk go out on Young, and we do see Baigen's main body go down on Aeriyah's side, and Aeriyah has gone and finished the Baigen fight just behind Vitasia. Skipping that Baron in has gotten Aeriyah a bit more back into this, or eroded any lead that Vitasia's really had. Or at least most of it.
I feel like he did have a bit of a faster fight on that Baigen as well. Vitasia was in that fight for a very long time. It felt like, and Aeriyah, it seemed like, just sort of got there and got through it about twice as quickly. So I'll be curious if he maybe even takes a bit of an advantage here at this point.
Yeah, it looks like Aeriyah does seem to have higher HP on that forum. And higher HP, and same HP on Yang pretty much. We're going and getting blinks out. Just the Disco Rave crew is going and doing their best. Counters hitting for 100 on Vitasia's side are definitely not what you want to go and see.
I do like the thought process that he's put into this here, though, of use power until you have blink up on everyone, then Berserk your Yang, and at that point in time, you're really just healing the counter damage. You're not healing the regular attacks as well, so very smart play getting around that at the same time, making sure that he's dealing damage as efficiently as he can.
Yep, definitely agreeing with that. You do see Vitasia's through Antlion has it crumbled, while Aeriyah is choosing not to go and Berserk up their Yang and is just going and doing powers and Hero 2s, also not electing to use Link. So we'll see if Aeriyah is able to make good time with this fight, or is going to be leaving a bit of time for Vitasia again.
Well, I think a lot of that depends on this crystal room too, because if you get Surprise Wyvern in here, Vitasia just ran straight in.
Surprise Wyvern does get very, very rude. But we should have the agility to get a Starvell off, and I missed what that key item was.
That was a pan, which is very interesting because we still don't have underground access, which at this point means that underground access is either locked behind Demist somewhere, or at that Baronin spot, or at that Twin Heart.
Yes, we have not had Baronin go, and Baronin doesn't have one of the three bosses that cannot block the logical path underground. Those three bosses being Golbez, Wyvern, or Valvalis. So it could still be, Darkins were guarding the Twin Harp, and we have Evil Wall plus Dr. Luge guarding the Baronin. Could go and have that Magna Key or Hook right there. And Vitasia is going and getting the big doll, which is a little unfortunate.
Thankfully, the spot is not too dangerous anyways, so if there's anywhere you're gonna get a big doll, it might as well be here when you're just gonna punch it a couple times and it's gonna fall over. So through that fight, imagine Aeriyah will be out there very shortly after. The only other possibility for that path underground that I can think of at this point in time is I don't believe either runner has checked the Mist Cave, so either there or the Magus Sister spot in Tower of Zot could be hiding a D-Mist. But other than that, those are the only real 4 possibilities for that underground access right now.
Yep. Not too many options. We could technically have D-Mist at Twin Harp as well, though. That, again, if it's at Twin Harp, it's still the same place.
Definitely, and I gotta think on Vitasia's side, maybe feeling a bit more confident in taking down that evil wall now that Tella is fully online, can actually do some reasonable-ish damage with those tier 3 spells early on.
Yeah, Tella online with spells, Form online with having Berserk, that is a very big spell to pick up, so Tella doesn't need to cast it. And Vitasia is going straight back to that Baron End.
I gotta think that he'll have a much easier time through it at this point in time. Evil Wall can be mean, but Evil Wall is only as mean as the amount of underpowered you are at that point in time.
Yeah, we are definitely again, extra levels for more heals is going to help a fair bit as well. And Aeriyah getting through the dolls with a lucky virus recall.
Well, that makes it 1-1 on the lucky recalls, as both runners have now removed recall there. So I guess that sort of evens out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely goes and makes things a bit more balanced for the runners. As we see Vitasia also going and getting a bit of good luck in the sense that Yang getting those extra levels faster so he can go and just start punching down the enemies before they get actions in the Dr. Luge fight. And now we have this evil wall coming out.
That just seems a bit rude. I mean, he sits there, he waits for his speech, he's practiced it the whole time, has like the script in front of him, and then you just don't even let him do his comedy bit before you knock him over.
Well, I mean, is it really his script or is it a doctored script?
It's a very good question.
We see Vitasia going and pulling out Virus, going and throwing out some blinks, getting a Berserk on Yang. Just gonna go and probably get through this evil wall without too much issue.
Yeah, and Aeriyah entering this fight at the same point in time, I mean, doesn't have that knowledge that there's an evil wall lurking here, but at this point in time in his power curve probably is not going to be too phased by it anyways. So should be fine for both of them to get through.
Yeah, though. It's only Yang now, so if Yang is enough to get through this, evil wall is down. So let's see what key item is here at Baron End. Do you like chains? We have all the chains for you. A Baron key.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, and this might just be me misremembering, there's only one of those key item spots that really matters right now. We're still looking for underground access, because if I'm remembering right, that Odin Throne can't gate underground.
You are correct. It is only the King's Throne where the false king goes and sits masquerading as the King of Baron. The Odin Throne where the true king resides is not logical progression because that is designed to be done much later in the game. And Boardface isn't so mean to say, nah, you need to go through a 20,000 HP boss that does thousands of damage to hit with level 20 characters. Now, you can try, and you can go and find some free fights there as well, but it is not going to go and be the logical way underground.
Yep, I also, as was pointed out by our restreamer Escorian in chat, another dancing dagger on Palom if you want to add to your collection of many dancing daggers that we have going on here. But it does look like Vitasia is going to just take this underground spot, and I have to think that Aeriyah is probably going to think about doing the same because that Leviathan is not very threatening to get through.
No, Leviathan is definitely going to be pretty free. He's weak to lightning. Thunderclaw does extra damage. Let 3 does extra damage. The Ice 2s, I think, aren't going to do too much damage in that spot from Leviathan. But the second boss might be a bit scary.
Although Vitasia equipping that second Poison Claw onto Yang instead of leaving that Thunder Claw on.
If he's anything like me, I entirely forgot there was Leviathan there, so Vitasia might have done the same. I am real bad about taking notes on that spot.
So am I. The only reason I remembered it in this point in time was because it was funny to me that the Leviathan gave you a Leviathan orb to start the game. Like, here, take me with you.
Take me with you, but I'm not going to answer any of your calls. You gotta go and find my precious granddaughter, Aeriyah. Well, I guess adopted granddaughter.
Adoptive granddaughter that's not even guaranteed to show up at this point.
No, because we do have distinct 10 on. That means only 10 characters are going to be in the seed, leaving us with 3 dupes. We have the information that there's Palom, Porum, Tella, and Young in the seed, but we don't know if other characters like Aeriyah or Cecil or Fasoya are in the seed.
Yeah, and with that double boss hunt, not getting any of the information out of objectives either that you might get in some cases. Sometimes you see that get Fusoya objective pop up and you're like, cool, I'm going to get a Fusoya at some point in time in this seed unless it's buried at the back of the giant. And even then, maybe.
Then maybe still do it. No. The giant is a very long check because you have to go through 2 very powerful boss fights, and you're probably going to go and get faster gun mode somewhere else. But Vitasia is through that Leviathan as Aeriyah is going into that Baron Castle now and about to start it.
Yeah, both of these runners still fairly close, and it feels like they're sort of trading time back and forth here. Aeriyah will go faster on one fight, catch up a little bit, and then Vitasia, like he knows that Aeriyah has caught up a little bit, will be like, okay, I'm going to go faster in this one. We're just going to get past it a little bit better. And they keep expanding the gap, closing the gap, expanding the gap, closing the gap, but there is a sparkle on this Baron throne.
That is a little scary. Is it Wyvern? It's Plague. Okay, that's not something you're going to be terribly pleased about either, to be entirely honest. You want to get through this spot quickly. Plague's going to cast Count. There are agility shenanigans you can do to get through here, but you might need to go and kill off one of your characters and revive them just to make sure you can reset that count, as it looks like that's what Vitasia is doing.
Yeah, and then this fight usually ends up being a drain on a few of your resources and like that. I've seen runners take this early Plague fight, end up using a whole bunch of life potions to get through it because they have to keep knocking someone down, picking them back up over and over again. And then they get later and they're like, okay, I have to go find life potions somewhere on the overworld now because I've run out because I had that Plague fight an hour ago.
Yeah, it is convenient that you do have the guaranteed knowledge that there are life potions available somewhere overworld on these flag sets, but you're going to have to find them, and you're not checking shops. You have a starter kit, you get a bunch of stuff. You don't want to waste time looking at shops.
Besides, shopping is boring. Going fast is faster and more fun. You don't want to be staring at a menu when you could be staring at a battle menu instead, which has cool animations attached to it.
Yeah, like that Count. That really likes to lag the game horribly.
I love that one though, because it's just it lags terribly. It has this is a problem. He did not properly knock Palom down.
Yeah, this is a little dicey for Vitasia as Aeriyah's getting to fight, but Plague is crumbling, saved by the end by Plague's HP running out before the time for Vitasia.
Hey, speaking of things that end up being quite annoying, how about Plague in one of those spots that slowly crumbles away?
I mean, at least get to go and have the heart rate come back down, as you might be contemplating if you just barely avoided a wipe. Well, we have discovered one of the 3 duplicates in the seed. It's Tella.
It's really not what you want the seed to tell you at this point in time.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it's just weighing down your party, though base level Tella's a good anchor eventually. Eventually,
but I mean, you have a party of Yang, the twins, and 2 Tellas. You gotta be thinking, okay, this is not going to get any better anytime soon.
This is going to get worse before it gets better, unless you get a hook right here, and that goes and sends you down the hook route, and you get a Fasoya. Or better yet, you get sent down the hook route and you get an Edward, and you see, we get Evil Wall North, and you see Kainazo there. Odin could be there. Odin would be rude. Hey, there's the hook I called. I'm sure Vitasia is going to be real happy when he hears this commentary. And speaking of going and picking up time, Aeriyah is through that Plague fight markedly faster than Vitasia was, and is going to be right on Vitasia's heels again.
Yeah, Vitasia going to take this moment to check the Mist Cave for that Vanilla D-Mist, and nope, there's a Val.
Gee, really didn't miss that. But that is good peace of mind for Vitasia because, that's a really scary boss to go and have to consider dealing with a mage team that we currently have. So, out of the pool in other places like Dwarf Castle or whatnot.
Yeah, I feel like Val and Golbez are two of the absolute most annoying possible bosses in this game, and having them at those two first boss locations is a big breath of fresh air, even if you still are possibly dreading the hook route you're about to be sent down. I kind of wonder if our runners just try and run down the hook route right now after raising the hovercraft like this, or if he goes and checks the character and then decides, okay, I'm actually going to go follow that twin harp first.
I struggled to think of a scenario where Twin Harp is going to be better for this party than the hook route, even though the hook route is like 10 or 15 levels higher than what you're going to be dealing with normally in those spots, just because the Twin Harp spot has incredibly high magic defense, and outside of Yang, your damage is magic.
That is very true, and something that I realized right afterwards. I was like, oh, right, no, you can't do any damage to anything with this party in that spot. You actually have to find characters first. Well, this looks like Vitasia is going to do the looting here in the Eblin Cave. Does find another Gungnir if you want to find a cane anywhere in the seed.
We've got to go and find that cane eventually. And Aeriyah is going straight to down this hook path as well, just near seconds behind Vitasia at this point.
Well, if you were waiting for the seed to give you a bit of a break, there's one. Coffins and sirens in this Eblin Cave shop.
If we're truly desperate, we can go and do some grinding on our deals, but Aeriyah is choosing to go and do the Twin Harp. Dropped off their hovercraft and is going into Cave Magnus.
I think it's certainly possible to get through this fight no matter what, but there's a question of how does this pay off in the end. If this ends up being something that would change Aeriyah's route and puts him on a different route that will get him through there, like this could be a magma key. There's no guarantee that Hook is the only way underground at this point in time. So there is ways that this can pay off and pay off for him.
Sorcerer Robe could pay off in general, just because I don't think this team has great armor for all the mages it has, and Sorcerer Robe's great armor for a mage. Oh, that's an edge. Did Vitasia get that long blade and full moon we had mentioned?
I don't think he did. I'm pretty sure that only Aeriyah went that far down Hobbs.
That is going to go and make a big difference. Ooh, Aeriyah is also not saving outside of this Twin Harp room. But we do see an edge on Vitasia's side. Level 25 character. Slightly worse on these flags because of the Sineki flag, where characters don't come with any equipment. Middle sword is better than the two short swords, probably, but it's not amazing. We do see the full moon, which is going to back row edge and be quite helpful.
Yeah, I mean, there's some edge things that will help out, and this will make when Vitasia decides to go down to that Twin Harp much quicker for him than it's going to be for Aeriyah. And it's looking like he's going to go back here to the save point, so I have to think that he's going to walk out, check the treasure chest on the way out, and then possibly actually does go for music. But speaking of music, it is time for that, so I'm going to go ahead and be quiet on that.
And while we have the solo 1 music on the harp, we see Yang versus Yang here. It is going to be the Battle of the Monks.
Unfortunately, no ouch in this particular seed, which is disappointing because I adore the ouch. It's just very well written at this point in time, but not going to be a very threatening fight down here.
No, but did go and macro glitched Palom and gave him a Mutinize, so he is doing 82 damage, which I'd insult, but honestly, that's a third of what Yang's doing, so... And Vitasia seems to have reset twice. Oh, Vitasia did forget which chest was trapped, unfortunately, and had to go and reset again.
The good news is he has found Gungnir number 3, which I think, are those throwable by Edge? Because that's at least going to count for something.
It is throwable, so you can say Gungnir once, Gungnir twice, Gungnir sold to the mob I'm just sick and tired of dealing with.
Exactly.
And Mariah is confirming that, yep, can be hit by magic. It's gonna go and be minimal damage, but it will go and hit.
Technically, damage is still damage, even if it's a very, very small amount, but it's not especially helpful here in this case. This really is just going to be the Yang show here.
Okay, there... One of the things about Virus is that, you know, it puts sap on a target. It'll go and bleed 2 HP per ATB tick until it wears off after 30 ticks, so it doesn't last too long. But hey, Aeriyah is through. Vitasia is leaving and probably going to this Queen Harp check as well. Probably going to get through it a fair bit faster, but Aeriyah is now going to go and get their first objective on the board, objective number 1, and get another key item here. Or a glass app.
We're going down the hook route.
It is at least extremely high physical protection. And not a magma key.
Now, here is the thing that I'm just sort of thinking for when they actually get through this hook route too. You have the hook route. This overworld's been giving you a bit of a runaround, so you're in a little bit of a somewhat stronger position. Do you necessarily, depending on what the boss is at the top, just as soon as you've done that hook route, turn around, go right back into that tower for 2 more checks? Or do you go through your freebies and all that first?
Depending on who's up there, I almost certainly want to go and hit that tower. You've got your only 1 objective to go mode. You need 3 more. You don't have visibility on the bosses. You have a tower key. I'm of the inclination to just run up the tower, do those checks, go do the pan, check your Fame Watch freebies, and then check Sheila 2, because maybe you go and get a fair bit closer to go mode that way. Alternatively, there is a good argument for doing Dwarf Castle for the chance of Fusoya, because Fusoya is amazingly strong. You have so many great options underground, to be honest. This is going to feel... You are going to feel behind when you get underground, just because you will feel overwhelmed by all the things you can do underground.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting seed because it was not willing to give us anything on that overworld whatsoever. And because of that, it gave us just enough to make this whole underground thing. Because you also have that pan, too. So that is 3 key items right there as well.
Yep. So I will admit, I'm also biased to go and do that tower key check because, well, you get to ditch the Falcon and get the Enterprise back without actually having to go and swap ships, which is really convenient. And I think chat is signaling that they want to go and listen to music again as it's about to start again.
Well, if you wanted to see the difference between one Yang punching the Dark Elf spot and having a fairly well-equipped edge get you through that spot later on, there was your difference right there in seeing how quickly Vitasia got through that compared to Aeriyah.
Yeah, that was definitely a fair bit faster. Though Aeriyah is a bit ahead right now just because Aeriyah doesn't seem to be committed to looting the full cave at the moment, unless I'm going to be proven wrong very shortly. Also, I missed this the first time, but the boss is CPU. If there's anyone you want to go and chuck the inventory at, it's CPU.
Yeah, and I gotta feel like CPU you're happier to see in that Rubicant spot than you could possibly seeing him in the King Queen Elblin spot, which has a lot of HP surprisingly and just general overall long-term nightmare.
I mean, it's 26,000 or something in that Rubicant spot and 6,000 in the King Queen spot. I don't like seeing CPU anyways, just because berserking is going to go and be a chore. You can probably get through it if you throw up a lot of links on the attacker node. That ninja sword is going to be quite welcome.
I feel like the seed can be summarized so far as giving you the wrong tools for every problem it throws at you, because we're just not getting the right things for what we're about to go into. It's like, oh, you got all these physical attackers that you got berserk up. Well, here's the CPU. You don't want to punch that down or you're just going to eat globes, and that's not going to be a great time for you.
I mean, some people are happy to go and eat globes. Actually, I don't know who really would be happy to eat globes. They're not that easy on the teeth.
Yeah, those are not apples or like those jawbreakers you get from a 25-cent candy machine. I guess they're probably like 50 cents now because of inflation. But those are made of metal. You don't want to bite into them.
Yeah, but speaking of biting into things, Aeriyah is biting into this Mad Ogre fight and just chucks one of his Gungnir Spears at the back Ogre and not going and saving them for the CPU fight, instead choosing to use them to get through this fight and get some good life glitches off.
One thing I have to wonder is once Aeriyah gets this down to just one Mad Ogre, if he's going to try and sneak a few Bacchuses out here before going up to those fights on the hook route.
That is an interesting choice. That is something I consistently forget about after I go and kill the last Mad Ogre and then decide, oh right, I should have stolen Bacchus blinds from these things. Oops.
Well, we'll see what he ends up doing here. Still just sort of plugging away at these first couple here. Might just decide to just take the experience and leave at this point where he already has us 2 sources of Berserk. Doesn't necessarily get a ton out of those Bacchuses outside of just flexibility and general usefulness. So they might not even be worth the time to sneak here. So I'm interested in seeing what he does.
Yeah, and it's likely you're going to have a shop go and sell them, so not that much of a loss. I believe our runners still have the one they found early on.
Yeah, I haven't seen either of them use it, and he is just going to take down this Mad Ogre fight for the experience and the possible drop from the chest.
Yeah, we could go and see a nice item here. This is Trap Chest to give higher loot. Zeus Gauntlet is a nice pickup, plus 10 strength.
Well, that is probably the first big break between that and the Ninja Sword. That edge is going to be hitting pretty hard right now.
Yeah, that edge is definitely... That's some late game equipment for edge. So Vitasia's edge is going to be even stronger because Vitasia has a black belt, while Aeriyah has the ninja shirt. Ninja shirt, however, really good at physical defense. Edge is going to go and be very hard to hit.
I think which one ends up being better will depend on this King Queen Evelyn spot, which is just notoriously very, very punchy. So you might even prefer that bit of extra defense if it's a boss that does a lot of physical attacking.
Yeah, and Vitasia is through that Mad Ogre chest much faster than Aeriyah, casting Size on the Mad Ogres to bring them down, and when you cast Size on them, they go and take double or quadruple damage from physical attack. So just ripping through them and getting a bunch of life glitches off as well, it seems. And there's King Queen Evelyn in their vanilla location. Objective number 5 is mandatory for our runners today.
Well, it's at least nice that our runners are getting a little bit of a break here, because the seed has been not unhandleable, but it's certainly been not very nice so far. And, you know, let's give them another free boss to just relax before they have to deal with that CPU with that high HP spot.
Yes, and to answer a question from chat, can the runners use the duplication glitch? No, they cannot. One of the things we have in Free Enterprise is the ability to set flags to turn on and off certain glitches. We have 2 glitches set on. The life glitch, which is what we saw when we were defeating those Mad Ogres. If you throw a life potion at a defeated enemy, the game will attempt to revive it, but because enemies have 0 vitality and the life spell works by giving back HP based on your vitality, they instantly die, but still count as an extra kill, so you go and get double rewards from them. The other glitch that is left on is the Sylph glitch, where Aeriyah's Sylph spell doesn't actually take away mana when you cast it.
Unless she's in the middle slot for reasons that I do not know, do not understand, and probably will never understand.
Yes, that is tied to the Dwarf Castle glitch, where if a character joins at Dwarf Castle and Aeriyah casts Sylph or Odin, and Odin fails, the character's MP in the middle slot is set to Aeriyah's MP minus 25.
That sounds deeply unfortunate.
Well, if that character is Tella, Aeriyah's going to always have more MP than Tella. So you can go and use that. Some people have cheaply used it to go and be a way of permanently refreshing Tella's mana in a D-Machine grind when the MP Underflow glitch wasn't on. Both of our runners are getting into the CPU fight at about the same time.
And it looks like Vitasia's way through it is that Blink and Berserk strategy of casting Blink on attacker and keeping him alive. That way, not going to get punched down. You can keep swinging away with your Berserkers. You just have to hope that they're hitting the right target. But there's no real other way around this fight right here outside of just attacking, and that's going to be a very long fight.
Yeah, and that edge is back row glitched, which another glitch in the game. If you equip a long-range weapon properly and take it off, the game never unsets the back row glitch, or the back row bit, so all of your attacks count as being long range.
Now that remedy is hitting for 2100, and I believe that is supposed to be set 10%, which means that this CPU in the back here has 21,000 HP to work its way through, and our Berserkers are not hitting for that much.
Yeah, that sounds a fair bit. That definitely sounds correct. Hedge is very determined to go through and hit the CPU. Great hits on that. Young, not always helpful, but there's a nice crit, but we need to get that defender note down on Vitasia's side, otherwise it is going to keep healing the main body for 2100. Aeriyah has gone and gotten that main body down and is going and setting up for setting up blinks on that back node and throwing just everything in the inventory for the moment.
Yeah, and I gotta feel that Vitasia might be being a little bit too conservative with the dart here. Aeriyah has been very aggressive with it, using 2 Gungnir's to get down that Mad Ogre fight quickly, now just pitching things at the CPU to get through it. And that might actually be a problem later on if Vitasia just takes a very long time getting through the CPU and those darts just manage to push Aeriyah through it much quicker.
Yeah, going and getting some guaranteed, good guaranteed damage too. That was 2,300 damage on that back. That is one full heal, over 10% of that CPU's health. That is definitely a good number to see. And Vitasia has unfortunately taken out the attacker node. That is not what you want to see. We are going to go and get globes, and there's a blink reflected back onto Tella. I'm sure he appreciates this in this fight where the boss uses no physical attack. Ooh, down goes Edge to first globe 199.
I was about to say before that happened, so this does not count as commentator's curse because it did not come out, but I was about to say, as long as these globes do not land on that Edge and Yang, I think it's probably a fine thing because they'll keep doing a pretty good amount of damage in the meanwhile. But that Edge falls over and means that that bit of time where you had those 2 nodes down and all the CPU is doing is using globes is almost a little bit wasted in a way.
Yes, because you are going to, like, there's backsliding on damage, which is going to hurt Vitasia a bit. It is going to give him extra experience because those orbs do go and have experience.
Yep, things going a lot more stably over on Aeriyah's side, has not had that attacker node fall over, but is being a lot sort of, I don't want to say gentler because that's not entirely accurate, but a little bit more methodical about it, just kind of sitting on those turns, waiting for the opportunity to cast that blink again. Whereas Vitasia was using a lot more of his turns with healings and like that, so he was not as prepared to just drop another blink on that node at the moment it's necessary.
Yep, and Aeriyah is only zerking up Edge, not zerking up Yang. Vitasia is going to catch up some ground though, going and checking those Gungnir spears.
Yeah, you gotta feel, if you're on Vitasia's side, that you probably thought, alright, that globe has made this fight slower than my opponent's probably doing. I've gotta actually be using what I have in it.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and we do go and see lots of darts coming out, doing good appreciable damage to the CPU as well.
Yeah, this is a long fight, but it's a stable fight for both of them now. And, I mean, I do think that Aeriyah not berserking this Yang has helped quite a bit too, because those powers seem to be doing a lot more and they're targeted in general, so he might actually be getting more use out of that Yang just by attacking with power instead of fight and making sure that you're hitting every time, as opposed to the sort of 50-50 and then your blinks are getting consumed faster, so you have to keep casting blink more and hoping you're keeping up. So is going to be a pretty good opportunity there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Having only one Zerker going and using Yang to power, not hitting those blinks, I think is the biggest part of all of it. Yang's damage is still marginal at 384 with UC on Aeriyah's side, but not going through those blinks means that Aeriyah has a much easier time just throwing out the healing that's necessary to deal with the Mazers.
And the attacker goes down again on Vitasia's side. Blink not going off in time. Yang and Edge both deciding to hit attacker 3 times in a row, so it's going to go through another round of these globes, but does only have it hit the Palom on the first try here, which might be the best option for him at this point.
Yeah, of all the things, Palom has the least HP as well, and there goes Edge again. That's very unfortunate for Vitasia. I was going to say, Palom have some of the least HP, the least HP in the party, is going to go be a boon, because the Mazer does 10% of your character's max HP and damage. Easier to heal that up on a low HP character than on Edge, who has the second most.
Yeah, I mean, it's if Vitasia has perfect RNG here on who those Berserk targets hit, I think that he would have been through this fight already almost, but he's just getting very bad luck in the way he's doing this fight, which is a very aggressive way of doing this fight. Keeps knocking that attacker down and then losing that edge, and it keeps putting that further and further behind, although that Palom is now sort of in a position where he can just one-shot the defender with Virus, so he's at least not backsliding now if that happens again.
Yep, that is always good to go and have. Not backsliding on this fight is super important. If you just, every time that defender gets to peel off, that is losing 2 hits from edge. And Edge is really going for the attacker. Edge apparently does not like the fact that he gets hitting Edge and Yang. This is not very great for Vitasia, it seems. Meanwhile, it looks like Aeriyah is feeling like they're close to the end of the fight. Oh no, put up a wall on Tella and is going to try and reflect. And doesn't hit. Hits the main body. This is not what you want to see.
Not what you want to see, but it might still be fine. Might still just be doing enough damage that this fight will be over very soon anyways. So I kind of like the bit of aggression here at the end. I'm not sure if it will pay off or not, but I like the thought process behind it a lot.
I agree. And that is the end. Aeriyah has gotten through CPU and is going to be getting into the underground at almost the 1 hour mark. This was about a 10-minute fight for our runners, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, they had the overworld that was half nice, half kind of mean, and half... Well, that's 3 halves, actually, isn't it? And then you have the marathon CPU fight at the end, and, you know, you gotta be thinking, okay, I really hope my opponent did not have an easier time of that fight. Also, Bahamut at the top of the tower here.
That Bahamut would make you think, yeah, okay, I'm going to go just straight up that tower and take them out, because Bahamut is not necessarily a difficult fight. Magic Power there is pretty weak. Young would probably just survive damage outright, but you can reflect it.
Yeah, and I think at this point, if you're able to do enough damage to get through this CPU spot, you're able to do enough damage to get through Bahamut even probably before that reflect at that point in time. I'm not even sure. Although I guess that spot is notoriously kind of high on HP because it is that vanilla Dr. Luggage spot. But it looks like Aeriyah is going to chase this pan first instead.
Yes, well, Vitasia continues to have awful luck with attacker node getting focus fired by Yang and Edge, and then CPU Globe 199 Edge. This is the 3rd time this has happened for Vitasia.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I like the aggressive play on it and the way that he's done this fight. In theory, just in practice, it has really not paid off because he keeps getting the wrong targets going here. Yep. And, you know, as was pointed out in chat, it might not even have been as wise to go for that Berserk and get that if you're going to be missing half the time anyways.
Yeah, and Yang just going all in on the attacker node, it seems. CPU main body is down, though, so it doesn't matter if we keep hitting the attacker node.
Just, it's weird to think that about a 1/6 of this run so far has been just this CPU fight alone.
Yeah, this has been a long fight. It's runners. Now the runner, I think, is going to feel ahead because CPU never feels fast, but you can just look at all the things you did overworld. Aeriyah going in, doing the Twin Harp without seeing that edge and having a longer Twin Harp fight. Vitasia having the 3 revives on the orbs does get a good chunk of experience for it, but not something you like. But Vitasia at 1 hour 2 is now underground. It's just a couple minutes behind Aeriyah at this point.
Well, a package in the Fame Arch is probably not what you want to see unless you got a really, really good package character that's worth sitting through that. And at this point in time, what is going to be a good package character that's worth sitting through that aside from a Fu? And maybe there's a world where a Cecil is good too. But we don't have Cecil gear quite yet, although there were light swords available for sale somewhere.
Cecil is definitely easy to take because Forge is an objective. Yeah, you don't have to do all of them, but you're pretty likely to get it. You're also a good chance of getting a crystal sword from that pink tail. This is a free fight in Fate March. This is the Officer Soldier fight, because I believe we've seen the Baron Guards, and there they are, but do we have... Yeah, we have a coffin that is going to come out and hopefully kill this officer. Yep. Ooh, and getting a double life glitch off on him then as well.
Double life glitch on one of the Fame March spots is an incredibly good prize this early on, too, because that's going to be a lot of early experience, especially where, you know, we do have sirens and like that, but because of that, there's an element of how much can you take off of your grind by just executing fights like this better.
I agree. You know, to save time on these fights, and the advantage of having the officer down, the soldiers are rather listless, and, you know, if they're left to their own devices, they choose to hit themselves because they don't want to go and hit the wrong target or something. I don't know. They go and really rely on that officer for targeting.
Yeah, I also have to agree with chat that saying this early on, an hour into the seed, does feel weird. But in this case, it's kind of just like we're just now entering the mid game an hour in. So this seed has been very, very loaded in terms of just time sync.
Yes, we had a Young and a Porum for the starting team. Tella was on Hobbs. Callum was the big DPS pickup in Baron Inn, the guard behind Luge and Evil Wall. That ribbon is not necessarily what you want to see, but something I did learn recently that I wasn't aware of, it does give mage resistance, and we really want to kill Ashura, so that could be quite helpful.
Yep, and Aeriyah not going to bother checking what that sparkle is. At this point in time, it can only be... Actually, I guess we've only seen one, haven't we? We've only seen Plague at this point in time, if I'm remembering correctly. The first parts of the seed seem so long ago at this point.
I do believe you're correct, as I don't think we've seen Wyvern, haven't seen Ogopogo, haven't seen D-Lunars, and have not seen Paldim.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of can understand why you would say, okay, I'm going to go check everything else, but I got to think that that knowledge might be very helpful if Vitasia ends up checking that and knows it's something that's going to be easier or harder depending on how things go, might be a bit smarter on that end. Well, not a bit smarter, that's not the way I want to phrase that, but might end up giving him a little bit of an advantage there, just in terms of knowledge.
Yeah, and speaking of an advantage, Aeriyah is choosing not to go and lose any lead advantage to taking the Alt Gauntlet at Dwarf Castle. That is 5 random encounters from the surrounding area. Not necessarily a hard fight, but it is going to be a long fight, and instead choosing to go and bank these 2 checks he has from Sheila in the form of the pan.
You might also check the package on the way up here too, just in case it is that Fu or Cecil, both of which, you know, kind of, well, the Fu at very least makes it a bit more appealing to possibly take that gauntlet as well if you can add another source of good, strong AoE magic damage onto your team.
Yep. If I find Cecil, I also kind of want to get him earlier rather than later so I can just keep getting experience on him, because we do not have what we call the slingshot experience. There is no boost turned on, where if a character is 5 or more levels behind the median party level, when you have a full team of 5, that character will gain double experience until they're no longer 5 levels behind. And a Zeus and a Magma Key from Sheila 1 is not what you want to see from that pan.
It's a bit of an interesting, thought on it, too. He's like, oh, he's in the underground. Would you like a way to get there?
Oh, you woke him up? Here's the fast way to get down. I've been going and checking up on him a few times, but now that you've done that, you can have my you can have my easy pass. Yeah, Aeriyah also has not checked the Odin Throne, which could be Ashura, and that's potentially a doable fight.
Yep, and neither runner has taken that tower check yet either. And that's 2 key items. We know that both of those fights are going to be pretty easy, and Edward is not something you check a package for at this point in time in the season.
Edward is not named Kasoya. Edward is not. You feel bad when you find Edward in a check that you're already getting a key item from. You don't go and do Edward when. Oh yeah, do I go and do this several minute long cutscene? These several set of cutscenes that are minutes long each to go and get Edward. No, you are not that desperate for Edward.
Yeah, even at this point in time, you don't risk there being a Sir on that package either. You're like, you know what? I will find every other key item in this game before I bother taking this Edward right now.
Vitasia pausing in front of the tower, deciding, no, I want to go over first and see what Sheila has, and who this package character is potentially. But to recap on the characters, we have started with Porum and Yang. We got Chella and Hobbs. We got Hallam at Baron Inn. We got Duplicate Tella from Baron Castle. And we got Edge from the Hook Route. In addition, we just saw the Edward. That means we have seen 6 characters. There are 4 remaining. And we have seen 1 duplicate. I wonder how much our runners are hoping for of Rosa, or if Rosa doesn't show up, if they decide to go for reflex traps.
I have to feel at this point in time, you're probably thinking, if I find a Rosa, I'm just going to stick with the Porum. I already have so much in terms of experience invested into, instead of trying to raise Rosa up to that point. I think we might be starting to hit the point where it's a little bit too late to take Rosa when she's really kind of only going to be filling that white mage role that we already have that Porum for.
I, the resident Porum hater, would disagree just because of the experience difference you need to get Rosa up to the point where she can survive Big Bang. Porum has about, I think, 150,000 experience right now. Rosa needs less than 150,000 experience than Porum to go and be at Big Bang survivability levels. Porum needs a lot of experience. She doesn't go and get... She's not over 2,000 HP until well into her 50s, while Rose is at that point at level 40-something. So, as I said, I am a resident Porum hater, so I would still be considering Rosa.
I think it's a very close question at this point in time, too. I don't think there is a right answer to it. The real question to me is, does Vitasia see this alt gauntlet and go, okay, I'm actually more okay with this. I might actually take this at this point.
Yeah, that depends on how much Vitasia wants to go and improve his party, as the sooner you get your characters in these flags, the better it is, because you're just never going to get catch-up experience. So any experience you got in another character is effectively wasted. Minika Rocket asking if I am a Aeriyah hater. I don't hate Aeriyah. She's a fantastic anchor. And she starts at 30 HP, so pretty much anyone can kill her off.
I love having Aeriyah in my party on the very rare occasion that you can actually make her useful, but it's just so rare that it's a problem. But an Earth Crystal from the top of tower there.
That's a party rock, and it is 2 bosses, theoretically, though one of them is already open. There's also a treasury in the event that we want to go and find more items, though I don't know if there's many items that Aeriyah could find that he really wants. And Vitasia is going for the alt gauntlet.
This is a very, very spicy choice here, because this dwarf castle gives something very important, and I gotta think there's a pretty good possibility at this point. Aeriyah could end up just saying, I'm not going to go back to this dwarf castle anytime in the near future, so that could be a pretty big advantage.
Yeah, that said, with the Earth Crystal, Aeriyah can see the second boss at Dwarf Castle, considering that Ashura is one of the boss hunts. You could go and, if you see Ashura there, then I believe you run straight back and deal with this alt gauntlet, as you know that's an objective there.
Yeah, and it also depends what the second super cannon key item ends up being once Aeriyah gets to the bottom of the tower, because that could just be another thing that leads him away from there. You know, if it ends up being like a Luca key or even better, a darkness crystal at this point, because we still don't have a way of getting to that final fight yet. Even if we find every other key item, then that could lead him further away from it too.
Yeah, Aeriyah is currently at 8 key items to Vitasia's 7, and we're going to go and see what this item is from the tower, the super cannon spot. If that is a darkness crystal, there's a lot of checks on the moon, but I would be tempted to hold out for 10 key items to get that grind going first.
Yeah, and at only 2 away, you gotta think, okay, even if this ends up being a key item, it ends up being that darkness crystal, Aeriyah probably will end up doing that Tower of Zot first, so that he has 10 before heading up to the moon.
Alternatively, this is Rat Tail, and Rat Tail can go, if Rat Tail gives you darkness crystal, then you're at 10 key items. Oh, a legend sword, so half of objective 2 is here. And Aeriyah is thinking hard about that Dwarf Castle and choosing, no, we're not going to go. Dwarf Castle, that's a silly place. Let's go to the let's go to Baron Castle. I believe Aeriyah is going to go and check that Odin Throne now.
Makes sense, although, I mean, there are 2 different thought processes you can have about it. It can either be, I'm going to check this Baron Throne and then head to the tower, or I'm going to head to the tower and it will drop me off in front of the Baron Throne, but the second spot does end up being some form of Rubicant, and that is Duplicate Porum, I believe.
That was Duplicate Porum, who was immediately ejected from the party. No Rosa here today, 1 duplicate left. Ooh, and we see us Lunar Sparkle on this bottom throne. It is not Plague, it's going to be something kind of mean. It's Wyvern! It's very mean.
Very mean, but if I'm remembering correctly, this spot is actually kind of slow, so it does get that Star Veil off on edge, just completely ready for it. I think that he's going to be able to get through this just fine.
He is, but he's probably going to throw a bunch of life potions, but he did probably take off about half of Wyvern's health at this point, as quad 9s on everyone hit by that Mega Nuke. We see life potions getting thrown, and nukes are starting to fly. Going out on Porum, that's not the worst one, just because, or excuse me, on Palom, not the worst one because Palom wasn't queued up to do anything, but Porum's queued up to cast the Berserk on Edge. And Edge has a wall, so that's unfortunately not going to go and help.
Yeah, I've done that many times before. Like, okay, time to berserk my... Oh, right, this is, adamant out of this dwarf castle as well. So both pieces of that forage are in the 2 big underground dungeons, so to speak.
And if Vitasia goes to that tower, that lower Babel, Vitasia is going to go and have both parts of forge and 10 key items. And this Odin Throne has a very decent chance of being Darkness Crystal, as it's either here, it's at Zot, or it's behind the Lunar Sparkle and Feymarch. And if that Lunar Sparkle and Feymarch is Ogopogo, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt a lot.
Yeah, and then when does Vitasia go back to do Dwarf Castle at this point in time when there's going to be so many more appealing options at this point in time? If you know that you only have a 1 in 3 chance as opposed to a 2 in 4 chance of that spot being painful, I gotta think that he's going to be very disincentivized from going back and dealing with that alt gauntlet anytime soon.
Yeah, and it only gets a defense sword for characters he doesn't have in his party. That is not pleasant. Aeriyah is keeping it and locking it out. Maybe wants to go and do some looting in this castle, in Baron Castle, but yeah, that's Wyvern's dead, but that means Darkness is either at Zot or behind that Lunar Sparkle in Feymarch.
The only thing that I can think that might incentivize Aeriyah to go back to Dwarf Castle is if the Darkness Crystal ends up being behind the Luca Key and the Luca Key comes out of Zot. In which case, maybe you end up going and saying, okay, this alt gauntlet might be about as fast as running down to the bottom of that, or even then, you'll actually be able to peek it at very least.
I think at at the number of objectives Aeriyah has, I kind of feel you need to clear Dwarf before we go to the moon because character check could also be important with potential Vitasia. And our restreamer Escorian going and pointing out that we still haven't seen Demas. Demas could be a package even, so that's the thing. And to give a shout out to our restreamer Escorian and our tracker Taven. Thank them both for going and helping us out, and thank you, Nth, for joining me in commentary.
Thank you as well. It's been a wonderful time so far, and honestly, it feels like we're just getting started because this seed is nowhere near solved yet.
No, I agree, and we see Bahamut going and getting the full power of a whole team reflect going off. But we are playing our favorite game of Rate That Treasury, and I didn't spy anything great in the second half. Cat Claw, but yeah, that's not an amazing treasury. No power shirts, no Hanzo Steel. Nothing truly great, I feel.
Even for a max tier 6 treasury, that's not a very good treasury, unfortunately, today. So nothing really going to help a lot aside from that Cat Claw, but you know, you gotta check anyways. It's always a big chance.
Yeah, just pulling a power shirt can be very helpful as both characters, because technically Yang and Edge are the two characters who will dual wield, gain double bonus from the every 4 points of strength will give 1 point of attack power. And it's applied to each hand, so if you can equip 2 weapons, you get 1 point of strength on each arm. But Ryan is choosing Hamzat to go and see those characters. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's a very, very good bonus if you're looking to just strong arm your way through a few of these locations later on.
Are overwhelming. I, for one, would appreciate it in a shirt too. Well, we have seen where Elements is, as that is the second fight of Dwarf Castle. Aeriyah is going to go and see the second Rubicon Sprite, and might not be inclined to go back there for that reason as well.
Yeah, at least we're going to get a good chance for second leg here. This is going to be a pretty easy fight in general. Not too much here that's going to be very threatening anyways, but at this point in time, both of our runners are strong enough to deal with basically anything that could be on Zod at this point.
Yeah, and to answer question from chat, I do not believe we have accounted for all dupes. We have only accounted for 2. One Tella, who is found at Sparronin and Hobbs, and a Forum, who is the starting character, and the second the character at Dwarf Castle. So there's 1 duplicate left. And Aeriyah going and running into some slight problems due to running out of mana on Hallam.
Yeah, the dangers of not using tents or cabins frequently enough and thinking I can just run through is sometimes you just oh right, MP's a thing, and that's a problem. So that's going to slow him down just the tiniest of bits. And we are going to see Vitasia doing this forge right now, so we'll see what's in this cocoa shop. And it looks like, well, do you want a life staff and then a white spear for a cane you don't have?
Can I give you a few weapons? A cane? No, I don't have any of those. But
somewhere out there's a seed with just a bunch of canes in it that's looking for the weapons that got dropped into this one, and right now, you know, even if you find a cane, are you necessarily going to take him at this point?
I played a Swiss seed where my first 3 characters were Cane, Cane, and Cane. They're also all 3 different shades of red cane. But there's no Rosa. There's good White Mage. Are we going to go and see Value White Mage getting the boot?
Sometimes you go for the full White Mage, sometimes you go for the Diet White Mage, so it's an interesting choice. But there's a Cecil here as well, which I think is definitely something you take in this situation. at this point.
I have a hard time disagreeing. Here's the power couple sitting in Zot. Would you like to improve the team? Going and getting rid of Tella and getting rid of Edge. I am kind of surprised because Edge is pretty well equipped. I'm surprised that not getting rid of Yang instead. Or Porum, but you know.
I think with the Porum in this case, you gotta think that now Aeriyah's plan long term is reflect strats on the Z fight and having Palom with Nuke, Rosa with White, Porum with White at this point.
That is very fair. As Vitasia is now climbing up this tower, is going to be coming in very shortly and is pretty much caught up to Aeriyah with the exception of that Wyvern fight, which has turned out to be nothing.
Yeah, and there's every chance that Aeriyah goes back and... that Aeriyah doesn't go back for that Dwarf Castle check at this point, now that he knows it's elements at that spot. So it's looking a little bit sketchy at this point in time, just because things have played out in a very weird way in the seed. But you never know.
Yeah. But there's a sure... Oh, goodness gracious. Vitasia is going to be in crystal mode, and if this gives darkness, Vitasia is in go mode. Objective number 4 is here at the top of Zot, along with the power couple.
If this doesn't give Darkness Crystal, then what else does it give? I mean, at this point in time, it'd have Tail or Luca Key or even Pinktail, in which case it would be Demystic Package. It's the last chance for that, or that Sparkle in the Fey March.
Yeah, if this is a blank, then we either have to find Demus somewhere awkward, or do that Sparkle, which could be Okopogo, and I do not want to fight Okopogo in the Leviathan. Answer question, yes, a pass would also go and give access to Zeromas. It wouldn't give access to the moon. I don't know if we've seen Sirens in shops.
We did. There were Sirens back in Eblin Cave
right
alongside the coffins, so that's
Okay.
your free, you know, no matter what level you're at, you can take down some eggs, starter pack.
Yep. That is correct. So, yeah, we've got a grind on Earth. We see Aeriyah going and finishing off Ashura, going to get objective number 4, but Vitasia right behind, going to be getting... Is he going to take the power? It is not taking Rosa. Is taking Cecil. I guess Porum at level 37 is not that bad.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point in time, when he doesn't know it, but he'll be in, at very least, all but the way to Zeromus go mode at this point. Probably is going to be the better option, just because you're going to be heading straight into whatever grind you're doing at this point in time with that level 1 Cecil, so it probably doesn't end up mattering in the end. And that is the Darkness Crystal.
Full go mode from Zot. Vitasia is going to be in full go mode off Zot. Aeriyah still needs to find the Adamant, which is at Dwarf Castle, or the Pinktail, which we have not seen.
Oh, this is the moment of truth. Does he go back down, or does he head and take care of
Sirens.
Oh, I gotta feel if he's buying Sirens, he's headed to the moon. This could end up being what decides it here.
This is also Aeriyah's 10th key item. He may be choosing to grind. I do believe it is very likely he is choosing to go to the moon, which would be disastrous for Aeriyah, just because we know that behind that alt gauntlet is go mode for Aeriyah.
Yeah, and it's just it's not a bad choice. It's just the wrong choice in this seed, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate, and it's just selling everything in his inventory as well. I, for one, can respect that. I need to go and get money. Let's go and get money.
How many more Sirens can I get? Can I just go ahead and buy 20 Sirens? Do I need 20 Sirens? No. Will it feel good to buy 20 Sirens? Yes.
Look, 15 Sirens is what you need to go and get to level nuke on Palom on Forum, but It takes time to scroll that down to 5, right? So just buy 2 stacks of 10. But Aeriyah is going underground. Vitasia has gotten their crystal, is getting their go mode, and they are in a fine position.
Here's the interesting question: is the grind here, why specifically? And I gotta think it's because Aeriyah hasn't found mute bells, hasn't found hourglasses, anything that will make it easy to do the moon grinds. Doesn't even really necessarily want to do king reuse, where you don't have a caster for weak and you don't have like a cane to just bop them for quad 9s because dragon weakness. So there is still a chance he goes back to dwarf from here before going up to the moon.
That is true. And I will say this spot is probably the best spot to go and grind in the game just because of how efficiently you can do them easily. Moon Warlocks, you need the mage weakness to go and exploit them, or a large number of coffins to kill all of them. Here, once Cecil goes and gets a few extra levels, he's going to probably be one-shotting these with that Excalibur we have.
To answer the question in chat of how does an egg attack from behind, that is the entire plot of the GameCube classic Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg.
I'm gonna have to take your word for that because I don't even know if that game exists. I have never heard of it.
It does exist. I don't know if that's the actual plot or not, but I saw the opportunity for the joke there and I went for it.
I, for one, respect the niche jokes. We're just seeing this HP value rocket up. Aeriyah going in at 1400 HP on Cecil, Vitasia now at that 1400. So Aeriyah is 1 egg ahead, but is down the entire alt gauntlet element fight.
Yeah, I mean, it does really just kind of hinge on where Aeriyah goes from here once this grind is over. And if it's not the decision we know to be right, then you gotta hope that the first thing he finds on the moon is the pink tail. Otherwise, this is really not going to end well. On the other hand, you know, there's never any guarantee in the Z fight. There's still every opportunity for him to make up the time if he does have a bit of a problem here.
Yeah, I'm going to go and say my bias again. Vitasia has Porum, Aeriyah has Rosa. Porum's much more likely to die in that Z fight than Rosa is.
To be fair, Aeriyah does also have Porum still.
True.
How many Porums would you like today?
I just look over Porum, like, there's a Rosa in the party, this team is fine. There's a Porum in this party and not a Rosa, this team is not fine.
But while we have a minute during this grind, I want to go ahead and, first of all, give another shout out to the Restream team behind the scenes, Scorian from the Restreamer and Taven the Tracker, as well as to both our runners, and also give a quick mention to the upcoming, starting, I believe, on Monday, Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise ladder as well. Going to be very, very fun, very, very good for anyone who wants to do a little bit of racing in this game, maybe doesn't want to join up for one of the tournaments, sort of a bit of more, I don't want to say casual racing experience, but like a casual competitive racing experience. So make sure that you go to FF4FE ladder.com or find the link in our Discord for more information on that.
Yes, there'll be round the clock races. There'll be races launching every few hours or so that no matter where you are in the world, you always have the chance to race Free Enterprise should you want to. There are 5 different flag sets to go and race on the ladder. So if you're curious, go to that FF4FE ladder.com to go and check it out. But Vitasia appears to be done with her grind and is heading up to the moon.
And this is going to be just a run through the moon, through the subterranean, straight to the Z fight. So here's Aeriyah heading off and looking like he's going to go to the moon as well.
Oh, that is the worst case for Araya is that Vitasia doesn't take away Pensaromus. There is very few locations, very few ways for Araya to really come back from this point because we know where one Go mode is. He would need to pull Go mode. He would need to pull a pink gel from the top of the moon without much of a walk to then be able to get back, turn it in, go back to the moon, walk all the way down, and get into the Z fight. And even then, Vitasia still needs. Vitasia is getting to the moon before Araya and has Go mode. Araya does not have Go mode and is following Vitasia to the moon.
Yeah, to sort of combine two different ideas that Chad has had in this case, you would basically probably need it to be cave value with D-Mist as the boss, and it drops Pink Tail and Pass when you go back to check the mom spot. And then Araya also needs to immediately head back to Earth and check that D-Mist instead of going through the rest of the moon, which I'm not even sure he would in that case.
Yeah, if he gets the Pink Tail directly from the spot and then D-Mist gives Pass, that would go and put things in a row for Araya. And Vitasia is going to pick up the moon character. It is Aeriyah. Would you like an anchor? Would you like a perfect anchor for this party? I believe we do. So, that's character number 9, I believe?
It sure is, and that's a Palamgon, so going to be just full Berserk strats on this Z fight for Vitasia at this point, because does not have that access to nuke anyways. I don't think Porum got anywhere near white at this point in time. It's just going to be there to heal up, drop some Berserks, and then just hope the damage comes out strong enough.
Yeah, Porum seems to be at about level 45. Maybe... Wait, does Porum... I didn't even double check Vitasia's level, because some of his characters are at level 45. And if Porum's not at level 48, Porum doesn't have Cure 4. That could be a problem for Vitasia.
I mean, I think maybe he does enough damage that he doesn't need to worry about not having Cure 4 in this situation, but it's going to be a little bit tight either way, and if you get that second Big Bang, it's not nerfed, then that could be a problem.
Yeah, that could be very scary, as if you nerf the Big Bang and bring it down to lower spell power, thanks to a bit of abuse of Zoromus' script, you can go and prevent the max roll of the Big Bang from being 23 to 2700 damage to being 1200, which is well below what Porum has for maximum HP.
Yeah, and Aeriyah is doing this bottom-up moon in the meantime, while Vitasia is just making this walk, does drop the save in the lower area, so not going to just walk the entire moon. This could be another way forward here. If that ribbon room ends up being Pass plus Pink Tail, there is still a chance if Vitasia wipes on the Z fight that we get there. But I'm starting to see some of these Z flags in the chat here.
Chat, are you suggesting this race is not exciting? Like, we've got runners dueling down the moon. This is not the time for a nap. I don't know why you're throwing up those Z flags, unless you mean something different.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. You know, it is very exciting. It's taken a lot out of me being how much this race has been back and forth. So I could be up for a nap after this, but I don't think that's what these flags mean in this case.
Maybe they're referring to the Z flag, the original flag on the randomizer, where when it was turned on, we changed what Zoromus looks like, because as the final boss, he does not get to move around. He has to sit there and wait for his challengers, not come to us. Because he's a bit too mean, a bit too strong, a bit too complicated, and maybe for some people a bit too ugly, or to some people not ugly enough, as we have 527 different Z-sprites to go and choose from. Which one we get today is a surprise until this crystal is thrown. And would you like to go and ask the customary question?
I think so. The question is, whose derriere is derriere? Or in this case, whose butt are we going to kick today?
We're about to find out.
And answering a quick question from chat, deal with fighting Zeromus is that in this particular flag set, when you complete 4 out of 5 objectives, you get the crystal to, in this case, change it to Strongbus here, which allows you to beat Zeromus in this. You can set it to just win when you get the objectives done, though.
Yes, and you can set it to require all objectives, but we like going in and setting up so it's only some of the objectives that prevents a number of consistent full clears you have to do, and does lead to a number of exciting races. And here comes the first big bang. We, I believe Vitasia on Battle Speed 1 did get the nerf off with a Silk Web, but there's the first Bacchus Wine, there's another Bacchus Wine, but that is a bit of a loss on time, and Aeriyah didn't pull any key items, but did pull a Crystal Sword, so Moon's gonna go real fast.
I feel like this is one of the only times that we'll be able to say in this tournament, you did not want to see a Crystal Sword.
No, unfortunately, Aeriyah wants to go and see the pass and the Pink Tail together somehow, and that can't happen anymore unless it's Demus. Here we have the Zerkers are out. They're punching 3,000 damage from Cecil, 2,000 damage from Young, and going and throwing a Mute Bell at Zeromus, trying to go and get a nerf off on this Big Bang. Unfortunately, because Zeromus has the boss bit, the Mute Bell doesn't actually land, and if it doesn't land, then it doesn't trigger a counter nuke. So Porum is going to take a full-powered Big Bang.
This
doesn't die.
Oh, yeah, good.
However,
I was about to say, this could be bad.
Okay, Porum does have Cure 4. Porum just barely has Cure 4. So Porum survives, lives to see another round, but we're probably going to see a black hole unless we have tipped and we're going to be going to the second phase of the fight.
I think that's possible. I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, but I do think it is possible that we moved into that second phase. Nope, there's the black hole.
So to explain what that means to chat, Zeromus has about 100,000 HP, except he doesn't actually have 100,000 HP. He has 40,000, or he has 60,000, excuse me. After you do 45,000 HP as a counterattack, Zeromus is going to go and refill his HP as an invisible turn, and change his script to go and be something different. Because if you didn't change the script, well, every time you got him down below 45,000 HP, he just refills HP, and that would just kind of be a bit unfair. But after he changes phase, he will go and reset his script and start from the top. Easy to spot sometimes. Right now, it's hard to tell when that change has happened, but I'm quite certain that Vitasia has slipped into phase 2 now.
And meanwhile, over on Aeriyah's side, taking down the Maga Sisters of that White Spear Altar, and for the first time this tournament, you don't want Crystal Sword Avenger Cecil.
That is unfortunately not going to go and win. Water Hag's nice to find, because you are definitely going to win against Water Hag. But, another Big Bang is coming out. It looks like this one got nerfed. 500 damage on Porum, that's a nerf Big Bang. Edge goes down because he took the counter nuke, but better Edge than Porum. You need your White Mage.
Yeah, this fight's still looking pretty stable, basically just playing that 1 in 4 chance of that counter nuke, and that's about it. But I think Vitasia's in a very good spot to get through. Does see another black hole come out, so we might end up seeing another Big Bang in this fight at this point.
Yeah, there's a chance of going to get a Big Bang into Meteor as a combo platter, but might not go and have that. Nuke comes out. This is definitely phase 2. Aeriyah not getting rewarded with Dragoon armor. This is the moon, the equipment of the moon. So Pink Tail is hiding quite firmly on this moon.
Yeah, and there's only 3 spots left, and the longer it takes, the less likely it is that Vitasia is going to have this wipe that Aeriyah would need to catch up at this point. kind of expecting rocks to happen any second now.
Yeah, this is definitely, we're far into the fight, and there's rocks. Vitasia is almost certainly through this Aromas fight.
You know, sometimes these races just do end up coming down to those choices, and it wasn't a bad choice, but it was just the wrong one in this case, and there is the flash, and down goes slowly sinking Strong Bad into the ether here, and Vitasia has taken the win with a time of 1:42.41.
GG's Vitasia, and it does sound like we are joined by Vitasia now. GG's Vitasia, how are you feeling about that seed?
You know, I felt good. Like, I know I got to the underground late up until... so I was feeling good up until that CPU fight that just took forever for me. And at that point, I'm like, God, I'm behind. I felt so behind. So I was just trying to make efficient checks as I'm going through and hoping it all turns out well.
Yeah, the CPU was a special kind of rude to you, because every single time you got below 199, it killed Edge.
Yeah, and finally by the third time, I'm like, I'm not gonna resurk. Let's not, cheeky blink strats aside. Let's just get through this so we can continue on with the seed. I had wasted enough time, and I felt like I could get through enough. I darted everything at that point. I wanted to save one Gungnir Spear in case I found a late cane, but once I got through there, I was feeling much better. The underworld was very, very kind to me. I wasn't quite happy with my party, so I did end up doing the Dwarf Castle, which apparently was a good thing with Adamant Rock there.
Yeah, that Adamant definitely went and pulled you ahead. Aeriyah did go and fade that because he faded the Alt Gauntlet there. So do you have any considerations of skipping that Alt Gauntlet?
I thought about it, but then I thought, the thing that makes the Alt Gauntlet difficult is just restarting all the different fights and how many individual enemies you have. But I had Palom, and he had Quake at that point, so I could sweep my way through. It would be a little bit of a longer fight, but I wanted to commit to it at that point in time. I didn't want to have to reset out and feel like waste even more time after that long CPU fight.
Very fair. That CPU fight, you did get underground at hour 2, while Aeriyah did get underground at just under an hour, I think. So it was a few minutes difference. That overworld was how did you feel about that early game in general when you started with Porum and Yang and found Tella on Hobbs?
It wasn't fantastic, and I remember trying to do some power staff bonks to get some zerks rolling so I could try to get some damage out quicker, but the power staff bonks were doing more damage than zerking anyway. So I just said, okay, let's just go as fast as we could. I know we had an early Twin Harp, but my only physical damage at that point in time was Yang, and I wasn't necessarily comfortable with doing Twin Harp too terribly early, just because of all of it. Everything was magic damage, and luckily it wasn't that difficult of a fight. I could throw some coffins and call it good. But there was a lot to do in the overworld that delayed us going into the underworld a little bit. Normally I try to get into the underworld before 30 minutes, but this seed just did not seem to allow it.
Seed didn't give you any damage early on either. Were you tempted at all to go and loot Castle Evelyn, or were you very firm about staying away from that location?
I wasn't. Here's the thing, I didn't ever feel under-geared is the problem. And the only, I'll do Castle Eblin if I'm feeling under-leveled or under-geared. And I didn't necessarily feel that. It was just kind of a bad combo. I don't know if there was anything that I would have found in there that would have made a significant difference in anything that I was doing. So, I wanted to avoid that. I kind of picked up some things along the way. I still think I overlooted by the end of it. But at that point in the race, I didn't feel, I felt like everything we could be doing, we had decent equipment. I wasn't going to go and do Castle Evelyn unless I was feeling severely addicted.
That's very fair. Overall, how have you felt about your run in the tournaments? You are now 4-2. You have punched your ticket to brackets. How are you feeling?
Oh my goodness! I let out a scream when I did the dot done. The last time I made it to any sort of like second round of brackets, I think was all the way back in Zenith Zone 1, where the flag sets were very, very different, and I think I lucked into the top rankings at that point in time. So feeling really good. I put in kind of probably far too much practice over the past year than I should. My Zenith Zone 3, I remember I started 0-3 in Zenith Zone 3 and was thinking, oh my goodness. And then I got my first win against Golden Shocker in this tournament and then went 0-2. So I've been kind of facing elimination for the past 3 weeks. So to go 4-2 at this point in time against some great competition, because there's no freebies in this particular community. To be in 4-2 right now is just an absolutely fantastic feeling, and I'm really looking forward to moving forward and suddenly facing the realization, oh crap, I haven't done a single bracket seed practice yet. I'm doomed.
Well, those bracket seeds are going to be a bit of a shift. There's a number of scary flags on there too. Hey, you have any thoughts on, the shift between Swiss and brackets?
It's I really want to get in there and get the feel for the brackets. I've seen some people do some practice brackets, and the money situation is much tighter. It really rewards not looting as much. So I was trying to practice at least the behaviors that you need to do through brackets as I'm doing this back end of Swiss, but really it's just a matter of giving me some time to get in there and practice the new flag set and hope I don't draw someone like Dusty or Dia right off the bat, because that's going to be terrifying. I mean, everyone's going to be terrifying, but those folks who have had more practice with the bracket seeds are going to be especially terrifying, I think.
That's definitely very fair. Kent, do you have any questions for Vitasia?
Nope, you hit all the ones I was going to ask. Just want to say GG on a very, very well run and very fun to watch race.
Oh, thank you both, Baka Shinobi and of course everyone on the restream behind the team. I think Esco is the one who rolled this wonderful seed for us, and then tracking. I didn't quite see who's tracking, but whoever did the tracking, special shout out. I know. I think I have some friends that are out there that I conned into watching the race, and they had no idea what was going on, but were watching. So thank you, everyone out there who's doing that. But I'll see everyone at brackets, and thanks everyone in the community for hanging out, and we'll see you at the next race.
Well, GG's on your win, and best of luck in brackets.
Thanks, all.
All right, and so meanwhile, back on the moon, unfortunately, only those top 2 spots really paid off on the moon. Cave Bahamut ended up being the pink tail. The Murasame altar, I believe it is. I always get the 2 confused, but I'm going to guess that's right and go with it. Had the pass, so it'll be a very quick fight for Aeriyah at this point in time. He'll get through it, but just every decision that he made was a very solid decision and a very smart decision, but just ended up being the wrong decision today.
Yeah, Aeriyah's getting to the Zeromus about 9 minutes after Vitasia finished, but has cleared the entire bottom of the moon and the Odin throne, only fading that dwarf castle, which is where the adamant was, and that's a solid time to put up for pretty much full clearing the seed. Yes, we didn't go into Sealed Cave, Leviathan Spot, or Dwarf Castle on Aeriyah's side, but there's not much else left to do for Aeriyah. Aeriyah is in a very firm position to walk into this fight and say, Crystal Sword Cecil would like to take out some pent-up aggression on Zeromus, and he has an Avenger and a Crystal Sword to do it. Oh my goodness, look at those HP values.
5,555 HP Yang. Yeah, this is not going to last very long as a fight. And, you know, one thing I gotta think is, imagine a world in this seed where the Adamant is not behind that alt gauntlet. This could have been 10 minutes in the other direction instead, so, you know, definitely has been a very well-run race by both runners here.
Agreed. Definitely give both of them a follow. They're both very solid runners, and while you might not see Aeriyah in brackets, you might see them running bracket flags on our ladder, so definitely something to go and just keep an eye on our runners. They're not done with free enterprise, I expect.
Yeah, I gotta think now at this point in time, it's just gonna be just your standard hybrid strats for Aeriyah through this fight. Pop that Avenger on the Cecil, let him go burr. Pop a Berserk on Vyong, let him do his work, because he's gonna be hitting very hard if you have this late game Vyong. Even just 3k is pretty good at this point in time, considering, you know, it's a Yang, and just this will be a very fast fight once he gets it fully rolling. Like that Rosa with 2,800 HP.
Yeah. I mean, considering that Yang struggled to do 300 damage with a power punch at the start of the seed, seeing him do 3,000 damage, that's definitely some way to go, and Zeromus is not looking to go and be in a good position for this fight. Fluffing up on Talon to go and boost up his wisdom, I think we're going to see some reflected nukes, and just Zeromus is going to go and get hit by the truck known as Crystal Sword Cecil with Avenger.
Are we even gonna see Big Bang 2 at this pace?
I don't think so, especially if we go and get some reflected white.
I mean, you don't even need to nerf Big Bangs with this much HP. I don't think an unnerfed Big Bang can actually roll high enough to kill anyone. Maybe he takes out Alum on a bad day, but that's it.
Yeah, and Aeriyah is berserking up Verza, just not interested in doing anything but just hitting Zeromus, going and putting a Starvel on Palom, and just, yeah, Verza's not doing extreme damage, but you don't need extreme damage. Rosa's just there to join in on the hitting.
Yeah, and that'll just clog that queue up even more, get Cecil even more hits in the end, so just more damage is more damage, honestly. It might be even more than casting Whitewood at this point.
You're just going in, like, shoving Zeromus to the floor while Cecil beats him with the big, glowing crystal sword, and just... We're just throwing damage on Zeromus. I'm quite certain we have gone in tip phases. There's a second shake. This is definitely attempt at Big Bang number 2. I don't think we're going to go and see it. Yeah, we're seeing 8,700 damage from Crystal Sword Cecil. Crystal Sword Cecil is showing you the definition of the word high roll as reflected nuke from Talon for 9,500 damage is enough to finish off Strong Bad Miss. GG's to Aeriyah with second place finish of 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 59 seconds. We'll see if they are they can join us for an interview shortly. Overall, that is a 12.5 minute or so difference between two runners, or 13.5 minutes about, where one runner cleared the entire moon and the other runner had go mode from Earth. GG's to both our runners. That is definitely a very, very good run. And we'll be joined by Aeriyah shortly. And we are joined by Aeriyah now. GG's. GG's. That seed was a story of many parts. I would like to go back an hour ago when you were just still fighting through that CPU fight. How are you feeling after that overworld?
Betrayed. Mostly by Tella and Edge. No, like, I must have recalled probably 10 times. And I think I got one spell that wasn't Light 1 or Ice 1.
You
And
had some very unfortunate luck with those recalls. Yes, it is. I believe each of the level 1 spells is a 20% chance or something, so it is not uncommon to get them, but it is a bit uncommon to get them in the number of times you did.
Yeah. So that was nasty. And then I zerked Edge for the CPU fight, which I stand by. But if he's gonna 90-10 punch the attack bit, what are you gonna do there?
Interestingly enough, you did go and get through that fight faster than Vitasia did, because you chose only to berserk Edge rather than going in berserk both Edge and Yang, which cost Vitasia a fair bit of time just trying to keep up with Blinks.
Yeah, with Edge or with Yang there, I was like, well, I mean, he can't really hit the back row very well anyway, right? So I figured I'd just manage less blinks and make him punch with his little charge up thing.
And that definitely worked out well for you. That definitely helped you get to the underground about 3 minutes before Vitasia did.
So I got an underground and, made the pan checks and all that stuff. I think it was like captain at Asura spot.
Yes, it was the officer soldier fight at the Asura spot.
Yeah, and then I sauntered over to Dwarf Castle and saw it was Gauntlet. And I was like, well, I don't like my levels right now or my party, and I actually don't even know what's at that Gauntlet. I don't think I've done Gauntlet there before, so I was like, if I die on this hill, I die on this hill. That's okay. Apparently I died on that hill.
Ah, yes, that is where Adamant was. And pretty much, Vitasia was, after you got underground, you were ahead for a while, but you went and did the Odin Throne, which Vitasia skipped and instead followed the chain from the top of Babel to go to Zot.
Mm-hmm.
And you were about neck and neck there, but you didn't have the Adamant that Vitasia did.
Correct. So, what you gonna do? And after all the betrayal of Tella and Edge, I betrayed the moon by not doing cave value first, which I've been doing, I think, most of the time for this tournament. It's just felt like it's been super weighted during this tournament, so I've always been doing cave value. But apparently that had Pigtail, and I did that last. So
yeah, it's we're commenting
poor decisions all around.
It's not very often you find a Crystal Sword and a Vengeful for your Cecil and say, I really didn't want this.
Yeah, that's exactly what my thought was.
But going back to before you had Power Overwhelming, the beginning of that seed with that young Horum start, how were you feeling when that start came out, and how do you feel about your overworld in general?
Okay, so this is also like a tale of two parts, right? So I actually don't hate Porum, and I really like Yang in these flag sets. I think Yang is a lot stronger than people give him credit for, just because he doesn't need equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, cool. I got some characters I like. This is great. And I found Tella. I was like, oh, okay. And then we found Palom, and I was like, well, we don't have underground access, so I can't just stir up that siren and just get Quake right away. So, I mean, all right, I guess that's okay. And then we found Edge, who I think is one of my least favorite characters in the game. And not to say that he didn't carry the rest of the overworld when I finally found him, because he did. But yeah, not a party I was super happy with. I mean, it's not awesome to get underground in an hour, right? Like, I haven't done that in a while.
If there's a party that's going to get underground in an hour, it's going to be the one that is Horum Yang, Tella, eventually Palom after you've cleared the overworld, so you're out of good experience spots for him, and then another Tella. And you did Baron Castle and Twin Harp with that team.
Yeah. Well, I was really desperate to not do a hook route with that party.
Oh, I don't blame you. That was definitely not something I was going to go and say you're wrong for this. It's just that team is going to go and struggle, unfortunately, because the only character on that team who has access to good damage is Palom until you do ordeals.
Right, yeah.
You made it work, though. Like, you did go and get it underground 3 minutes ahead of Vitasia.
Yeah, like, it was an interesting seed for sure, and I didn't feel like I played it super terribly. But, things happen.
I mean,
that's fine.
You're 12 and a half minutes behind Vitasia, who skipped the entirety of the moon that you cleared.
Right.
That is a bit of unfortunate luck in your side, but a 12-minute moon clear and then killing Zeromus, not a bad thing to go and have going for you, to be entirely honest.
Yeah, I mean, clearing the whole moon and basically striking out until the very end, and still losing by a reasonable amount of time, I feel like that makes Wu proud. So, thanks, Wu.
Yeah, oh, and Bluebear pointing out that you also did Odin Throne, which was several minutes, because that was Wyvern, another rather unpleasant fight.
That actually wasn't too bad. I didn't feel terrible there.
Not terrible, but it was also...
Sorry, he kept on nuking down, like, I think, Porum, who I was trying to use to cast life since I didn't have a lot of life potions. But, I mean, outside of that, I didn't think it was terrible. It was under-leveled, but doable.
Yeah. Entirely fair. And do you have any questions for Aeriyah?
No, I think you got about all the ones I was going to ask. I just want to say, GG's on a very well-run race. You made good decisions throughout. They just weren't the right ones today.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. And GG's to Vitasia. Definitely credit to him for finishing ahead, and good luck to them in the next round.
I just have one last question. How do you feel about your run through the LaliHo League Swiss?
Not bad, actually. So my goal was to go get 3 wins, right? So I accomplished that much. And exiting now actually kind of works out to probably my favor, because school's ramping up and finals are coming around, so that'll be a good thing. But overall, I had a lot of fun. This was a good time.
Glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that you managed to achieve the goal you set for yourself coming into these. Always good to go and hit those milestones for yourself. And are you planning on joining the next tournament when it happens?
I'm not sure. It'll really depend on just where I'm at with life at that point, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. I understand that one very much so myself. Well, GG's, thank you again, and congratulations on a great run in this tournament.
Thank you. Shouts to Woo Bear and Peasants and Possum, and shouts to Jared for not carrying the seed for me, man. What were you doing? Punch harder. Later, guys.
Later. Have a great evening.
You too.
And with that, we are done with our race. And that was certainly a great race, wasn't it?
That was an incredibly good race. It was so close throughout. It just really did come down to that one decision. And, I think I would have made the same decision if I was in that place. So, that's what this entire Swiss round has been about. And if you were looking for a race that was like a summary of how all of these Swiss flags have gone, that was it. 2 very evenly matched players, and it just comes down to that one point.
I agree. And Fading Alkaline is real hard to go and say that's a bad option. But speaking of options, we are going to give you the option of more free enterprises. We are going to go and send you over to Free Enterprise. There is a race in progress between Lali-Ho Live and Poorly Drawn Bees. Feel free to go and enjoy that race, but please do not post any spoilers about this race. Some people like to go and watch these on their own and do not wish to be spoiled about the results. Feel free to let them know it's a good one, though.